Welcome to episode 18 of the Today I'm Sober podcast with your host, Liz W. Today I'm joined by Lisa Moore of Fit for More. Now, Lisa's a personal trainer and coach, and what she doesn't know about getting fit simply isn't worth knowing. Now, I've invited Lisa on because, well, first of all, it's the new year. I mean, come on, if I wasn't talking about getting fit in the new year, when would I be talking about it? But the reason is, I haven't done what I said I was going to do. 3 months ago on this show, I said I was going to lose 3 stone in weight. I haven't lost a single pound or kilo. And I wanted to chat with Lisa about how our heads can sometimes stop us from achieving what we want to achieve. So today on the show, Lisa and I delve into some of the things that can hold us back and what we can do to set ourselves up for success if we too want to get fit. I hope you enjoy the show, and I'll see you on the other side. Now, Lisa is a health and wellness coach. Not only that, she's really multi-talented. I've had the pleasure of meeting Lisa in real life. She's got a radio show. I think it's called Radio Reverb, based in Brighton in West Sussex. She's super fit. She's a super lovely woman. And I just really wanted to bring her on the show today for us to have a really honest conversation about being a woman of a certain age and starting that journey to fitness again. So welcome to the show, Lisa.
Really, really good to be here.
Fab to have you. So listen, the reason I wanted you on, as I've just said in the really brief intro, is that I've made a commitment to myself that I want to be 3 stone lighter. Right. And in fact, the first ever person I had on the show was the lovely Dr Katherine Hickman.
Lovely lady.
A lovely lady. We both know Catherine. She's fab, listeners. She's fab. Go listen to that episode if you haven't listened to it yet. Now, the thing I've realised, because I recorded that episode with Catherine back in September, and it's now January 2020, is that I've done nothing since that conversation with her to even start the journey. I haven't been putting on my trainers as I promised her I would. And I haven't done the couch to 5K that I talked to someone else about doing. And I just feel like it's the start of a new year, new decade. Everyone's talking about it. It's the time of year that, you're being bombarded by either, gym adverts, Peloton and the like. Or there's adverts about getting a bikini on and going on holiday. The thought of either of those things terrifies the life out of me. Yep. So Lisa, you help women get healthy and get well.
I do.
Where would you recommend I start? Because at the moment I haven't started.
The first thing I would ask you is what do you think being fit is?
Ooh.
What does fitness mean to you? Because I think, having worked with lots of ladies as a personal trainer, but also as a coach, it's this idea of fit, what that actually is, can be the problem, or can be a starting problem. So tell me in just a few words, what does fitness mean to you?
Okay, so fit to me means having the weight I had when I was 24 years old.
Okay.
Which was about 56 kilos.
I thought you were going to say 56 years ago.
Not that old, darling.
No, I was going to say blimey.
So it means being 56 kilos, and it means being able to run on a treadmill for 30 minutes straight, which is what I could do when I was 24.
Right. And why is it important for you to weigh 56 kilos and be able to run 30 minutes on the treadmill?
Okay, so the reason I want to be 56 kilos is that I've never shared this before publicly, but so
sorry, they're quite direct questions, and I apologize.
know.
Getting into the crux of Where is
Yeah,
this coming
I know,
from?
but I'm going to share it because I just feel compelled to. So when I was 24, I think I was 24, I met my husband.
Right.
I was the fittest I'd ever been in my life, and I felt phenomenal about myself. I
Okay.
was just on top form, felt amazing. And I was rocking a pair of Armani jeans. And I've had lots of clothes over the years, but I still own this pair of Armani jeans.
Wow.
And I want to get back into them.
Okay. So is it the feeling that you're searching for rather than the number?
Yes, absolutely.
So that's the crux of it. So it's quite a difficult one because you have to sort of work at, if we just focus on that number, does it feel completely unachievable right now, the number?
Oh, the number's impossible. And in fact, when I first met my husband, he complained that I was too thin. You could literally see every single. He said you looked like you'd been malnourished. You could see every single rib on my rib cage and on my back, and every spine on my, vertebrae on my back. You could see the lumps.
So actually too thin. Too thin.
Too thin.
So that's interesting then, isn't it? So if your husband was telling you that he felt you were too thin, but you felt fab, but this 56 kilos actually makes you look, does that make you look healthy? And did it make you look fit?
No, I looked like a lollipop, if the truth be told. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Because I do actually have rather a large head in size, not in ego terms. But you see, this is a really interesting thing. So I would have expected someone like you, who's a personal trainer, to not give a damn about why I want to be,
and just
like
give you an
that.
exercise program and a nutrition program to get you where you want to go.
Exactly, and I think it's and in fact, I've had personal trainers in the past, and that's exactly what they've done. They've just said, right, so we're going to do this, and you're going to do that, and
you're going to do 500 burpees, and off you've gone, and you might well have got results. And if I'm honest, that's how I used to work with people as a personal trainer. It's exactly what I did. I would just focus on, right, you've got to eat this, you've not got to eat that, you've got to do this amount of exercise, boom. But what I've noticed, I've been in the fitness industry now for, nearly 30 years. And especially women, I have noticed that the ones that do really, really well and keep the weight off are the ones that get their mindset right and understand why it's important to them. And they understand what's really going on, and not just doing the do. People will come in. I had a lovely lady, I'll give you an example of a lady, and she was mid-50s, never really been thin, and it was her son's wedding coming up. She was absolutely determined to lose the weight, and she did. She lost 3.5 stone on my program. We worked for about 3 months together. She worked really, really hard.
Wow.
Brilliantly. But every time I sort of talked to her about the mindset thing, she was like, I don't really need to focus on that. I just need to do the exercise. Had these fantastic photos taken at the wedding. She looked incredible. I've never seen her look so confident. And she said to me that she was actually following the photographer around so she could jump in front of the camera for every single photo.
I love that.
She even danced on the wedding video. Just brilliant. But as soon as the wedding was over, the old habits started to come back in. And I remember having a particular conversation with her during one of the small group sessions, and we were talking about failure. And she told me the story about when she was 16 and she'd done her O-levels, and she wasn't there to open the envelope to get her O-level results because she was working her Saturday, or she was doing a part-time job or something. So her mum rang her at work and said, I've got your envelope. And she said, all right, will you open it? So she opened it and she read it, and she went, geography, C, fail, maths, B, fail. And every single exam result that she got, regardless of what it was, and she didn't get any A's, her mother told her she was a failure. And her mother has always told her she is a failure, so that whenever she achieves something, she then fails, she might achieve it, but then it will go back on. So like the weight thing had been a history where she'd put weight on, she'd lost it a bit, put it back on, lost it, put it back on. And yes, there's physical metabolism. You can talk about metabolism and how that all works, but there was a mindset going on behind it. And the outcome was that she put 2.5 stone back on, and then she decided that she wouldn't work with me anymore because she felt, I need to try something different. I get bored if I do the same thing over and over again. I know that it was all the mindset thing. It wasn't what I had done or she hadn't done or things. So that's why now I focus more on what's the reason why? Why is it important? And actually, the number on the scales is just a number. What you're really searching for is a feeling of loving who you are and loving how you feel and loving how you look. It doesn't matter whether it's 56 kilos or 66 kilos or 76 kilos.
No.
If you love yourself and you feel comfortable and you feel fit, then you'll be happy and you won't be worrying about it.
No, you're absolutely right. Having said that, I did check my BMI score last night because for some random reason, we were talking about it at home, and I'm in the morbidly obese category at the moment. Yeah. And to look at me, you wouldn't think I was morbidly obese, no, but I am. I'm a smoker. I don't drink, as we know, listeners. However, and I'm really proud of that. Go, Liz. However, I'm coming up to 50 at some point in the next years.
Same as me.
We won't say how many.
Next year.
And I don't want to feel this way in my 50s.
Yes. And there you hit the nail on the head there by saying, I don't want to feel this way. So maybe what you need to do is think about how do you want to feel and focus on how you want to feel, and then figure out, okay, so how can I feel like that again? And that will probably motivate you to put your trainers on.
Okay, but it can't be as simple as just that, surely, that I figure out, and I do know it's about the feelings. I do also know that there's some issues around food that I need to address. And in fact, I was talking with Sally Goazzo about rapid transformational therapy, and we were talking about
Sally today.
Well, yes, small world, isn't it?
Small world, yeah.
So Sally and I were talking about rapid transformational therapy and how it could potentially help with food.
Can work really well, with food, definitely.
Especially if I don't have an addiction with food, but I have a very unhealthy relationship, shall we say, primarily because of some childhood things, and also probably to do with my relationship with my mum. Through no fault of her own, it's just something I picked up on and has stayed with me. So, okay, so you said the first thing you asked me was why. So listeners, if you haven't thought of, if you're on a journey to wanting to lose weight and getting fit, if you haven't, ask yourself that same question that Lisa asked us earlier. Why do you want to lose weight, get fit, whatever the thing is for you? And then, think back to this conversation and challenge yourself and question yourself till you get to the real crux of it.
Yeah, and I think with the why question as well, one thing to ask yourself is, are you doing it for you, or are you doing it for other people? Because quite often there's the big media and there's the peer pressure, and you talked about all the adverts and going on holiday. There's that sort of massive pressure on everybody to be a particular size and look a particular way, so that it can make you feel like you should lose weight. Or maybe it's because your husband said, well, you're looking a bit tubby, or your best friend is a skinny bean and you're not a skinny. Is it actually something that you really, 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 really want to do for you, or are there other people involved? And I think that's quite an important question to ask.
Yeah, so using your example of your client who was doing it for a son's wedding, that wasn't just for her, was it? It was also about the family, and there were other factors. And for me, it isn't solely about me. My son who's 15, keeps saying, well, you do know you're going to die soon because he's smoking still. I was like, thanks, that's really cheerful. Love you too, gorgeous. But, you know, he's right. Statistically, I'm more likely to die young. But it's more about, it's the fitness thing. You know, I've got a beautiful dog and I get tired and bits of me start to ache.
Yep.
And I know I'm too young to be that unfit that my breathing goes and that limbs start aching. And I want to change that because I've never felt like this before and I don't like it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to be old yet. I'm not old. So I kind of want to draw a veil under it and like, right, draw a veil over it and like, right, we're going to address this. But I know that I just haven't made any moves forward, even though it is really important to me.
So it's digging deeper into that why. Why is it important to me? So, you know, because I need to be fitter, I need to stop being morbidly obese, but why is that important to me? And keep digging deeper.
Okay.
And the more you ask that why, there's a process you can go through that I learned from Dean Grazioso, which is called 7 levels deep. And it is exactly that. You ask yourself the question, why is this important to me? Or why do I want to achieve this? And you'll come up with a sort of, you know, a basic, oh, well, because I need to be fitter. Why do you need to be fitter? Or because then I won't struggle when I'm running up the stairs and I won't lose my breath. Why is not losing your breath important to you? Or because then I know I'm not going to have COPD when I get older and I won't have to have oxygen mask. Why is that important? Because then my family are going to have to support me and I don't want to see my family. So the deeper you get, the more emotional it gets. And you almost want to get to the point where the why, it hits you in the chest, you know, it maybe even makes you cry. And then once you've got that why, you are much more likely to want to go out and do something about it. And then the doing something about it then becomes more about practicalities and prioritizing and scheduling and what do you like to do, what don't you like to do. Those sort of things are then a little bit easier because you're much more likely to do them.
Okay, so I need to do my 7 why exercise.
Yes.
As you've just beautifully explained, to get to the real root of the issue. So let's assume I know exactly what my why is. And I'm like, right, that's my why. And it's really embedded in me and I've emotionally connected to it. And it's, you know, hugely important to me. Where you said that then there's the practicalities, but for someone like you that probably does it automatically, it's quite easy to say that. I don't even know where to start, Lisa.
Okay, so easy way to start is have a look at your day, have a look at your week, and have a look at where you spend your time.
Okay.
So quite often the excuse is I don't have enough time. And especially if you're busy, you're running your own business, you've got children, family, etc. You go, oh, I can't do that. I haven't got any time. So the first thing is to figure out where your time is. If you come up with the I haven't got enough time scenario excuse, you then need to look deeper into where are you spending your time? Because if you're spending 3 hours in the evening scrolling Facebook, watching Netflix, painting your nails, you could possibly take some of that time to do some exercise.
And how much time do I need to find each day or each week? What's the suggestion?
Do you know, it's not as much as you think. It depends on the type of exercise you do. I think the first step is really to bring more movement and activity into your everyday life. So that can be as simple as, if you're sitting at your desk all day, putting an alarm on your phone so that every half an hour you just stand up. And if you work from home, stand up, walk upstairs, walk back downstairs, sit down. And if you did that every half an hour, you would, I don't know how many steps it would be, but you're adding more movement. So your body is automatically getting more activity. You mentioned you've got a dog.
Yep.
So I assume you walk him every day?
Once a day.
Once a day. So could you go twice? Could you go a little bit further with him?
He'd love to go twice a day.
Yeah. Could you walk faster? Could you find a route where you're challenged a bit more because you've got to go uphill rather than, just going on a flat route? It's little things done consistently over time that will make the difference. And then they become normal. They become your norm.
Yeah.
that's the answer, really, is to make exercise and movement part of who you are.
Right. Okay. So I completely get that. And I do actually have on my iPhone, it tells me how many steps I've done.
Yeah, that's quite a good way to look, to look at it to start with.
Yeah, and I get quite competitive with myself because it also tells me how, especially when I know I've walked the dog, I'm like, oh, I didn't walk him as far as last time. And then I notice that he's like really energetic about 11 o'clock at night and wants to play. And it's like, yeah, that's because you didn't take him on a long walk today. So so that's a really good indicator of how much I'm moving.
Yeah.
And obviously you just said, get more movement into my day-to-day life.
Yes.
So that I'm physically moving more.
Yes.
And not sat on my backside.
So that's a good step. First step is just to get more movement in. If you're looking to lose weight, the best thing to do is to use weights. So lose weight.
I like that. You lose weight, use weights.
Use weights. And a workout. We seem to have this theory in our mind, and I think it's because of all the gym classes, is that you've got to exercise for at least an hour. Because, you go to the gym, I've got to do an hour. I'm not, where's it come from? You don't have to do an hour. The really good news is if you exercise the right way, you actually don't need to do that long. So if you did an intense, like a metabolic type exercise for 10 minutes every day, that would be fine. You would really notice the difference.
And what is an intense metabolic exercise? So you're talking to someone who hasn't stepped into a gym for a very long time.
Very long time. Yeah. Well, and also a gym environment can be intimidating. So you don't necessarily have to use a gym. You can do things. You can do things at home. So I teach something called the metabolic effect, which is lovely because it's a rest-based workout. So the good thing is,
the sound of this, a rest-based workout. Bring it on.
So a lot of high intensity training, HIIT training, is intense. You're pushed to your limit for a particular period of time, and then if you're with an instructor, the instructor will say, right, you can rest for 10 seconds or 20 seconds or 30 seconds, and then they get you to go again. Now that's really good if you're a fit person, but if you haven't been in a gym for years and you go to a HIIT class, you'll die, or you'll feel like you're dying because it's so hard. Metabolic effect is really good because you work to your level of fitness. So you push yourself to the point where you think, I've got to stop. You rest, you recover, and then you join back in. So when I do my metabolic classes, I've got people at different levels of fitness, different ages, that will stop and start at different times throughout the class because they listen to what's going on in their body. They know the intensity. And what you're looking for is sort of, you're looking to get very hot. So almost to the point you think, oh, I'm too hot, I've got to stop. Or you get too out of breath that you have to stop. Or the weights that you are using have become too heavy and you can't actually lift them anymore. Or your form, so how you perform the exercise, is not good. So when your body gets tired, you're not going to be able to do a squat properly. You're not going to be able to do a press up properly. So if you get all four of those, you should be stopping and resting. And you can rest for as long as you need. You might rest for 5 seconds. You might rest for a whole minute, depending on how hot or how out of breath you've got. And then you start again. So that type of exercise you could do at home. So you could put 4 exercises together, get yourself some fairly heavy hand weights. I'd say for a lady, probably a 4 kilo, 5 kilo. You could do squats, press ups, lunges, and a walkout plank. And you just do 10 of each, and you just keep going and keep repeating them until you need to stop, and then you stop, and then you just carry on. If you did that for 10 minutes, you'd get a really good workout. You'd get hot, you'd get sweaty, you'd burn lots of fat, and it doesn't take that much time.
Oh. Now, you just said a walkout plank. I know what a plank is in exercise terms. I have no idea what a walkout plank is.
Basically, you go from standing up to walking out with your hands on the floor.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. I've got lots of videos on my Facebook group and on YouTube if anybody wants them, they're on there.
Well,
you can watch
I'll
me
be hitting you up.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so the things I've learned from you so far is I've got to connect with my why. I've got to have a really honest conversation with myself about where I'm spending my time, because I'll have figured out this is really important to me. Therefore, I need to carve out time and make a choice as to whether or not I sit and watch EastEnders or another TV program, or I do some form of exercise.
Yeah.
And the second step was actually I've missed out is about getting more movement into my day, and then carving out and then doing some exercise. And you've talked about metabolic exercise. What did you call it?
Weights.
Metabolic
effect is the class that I run.
Metabolic effect.
The
okay.
Metabolic effect. Yeah. Rest-based workout.
Because if I want to lose weight, I use weights.
You use weights. Yes.
Fab.
And weights, a lot of women get worried about losing weights because they think, oh, I'm going to be all bulky and muscly. But it takes a hell of a lot of weight and a very dedicated schedule to put on muscle for women. So you won't get bulky. You'll just get toned. And actually, that's the really nice thing is if you do a lot of cardio exercise, so if you start doing lots of running and lots of swimming, well, swimming less so because it's more resistance. But if you do lots of running or aerobics classes, without any weight training, you won't get the tone in your body. It'll be harder to get. And actually, that's what most women want, is they want to have a body that's toned and tight and firm, rather than skinny and floppy.
And flabby.
Yeah, you don't want skinny and floppy. You want firm and tight and toned.
Would be nice, firm, tight and toned. It's been a long time since I've seen firm, tight and toned. Okay, so from where I am now to being firm, tight and toned feels like a really long way. And part of me is like, oh my God,
you're overwhelmed.
I'm overwhelmed. There's no point me starting. I'm going to fail. I've tried this before. It didn't work. So how can I maintain the momentum of moving more and starting to exercise when you don't see immediate results? And it feels really hard when you first start, doesn't it? And I know this from experience, because
it does. Yes, it does feel really hard. And I think focus on how you feel as well as how you look.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you need to start thinking about your nutrition, and all of that comes into it as well, and looking after yourself. So just spending more care looking after you will start to give you that feeling of feeling better and feeling happier. So if you spend time meditating, go to bed early, pampering yourself, that sort of thing, that as well as moving more and exercising, it's going to create this feeling of, actually, I'm really, I feel good about myself. I feel comfortable.
Mm. So how do you keep yourself motivated when, I don't know, I can imagine I know myself really well. I'm going to start moving. I'm going to start exercising, and I'm good for a few days, and then it just goes Pete Tong, and I kind of give up on myself.
Because you want immediate results.
Completely.
And I think one thing that I have said to clients in the past, and it's not kind actually, but it's very true, is how long has it taken you to get to how you are now? That didn't happen overnight, did it? So it didn't take 4 days to get 3 stone overweight. No. So you have to remember that it's not going to take 4 days to lose 3 stone. It's a process, and it's going to take a little bit of time, and you will plateau. You will get to that point where nothing's happening, and that's where sort of understanding a little bit more about metabolism comes into play from a weight loss point of view. And I know this is going off the subject of motivation, but I think it's interesting to quickly talk about metabolism, because our bodies are amazing, and they are designed to keep us alive and to keep us safe. So the reason with yo-yo diets and why they don't work is that your body will suddenly realize, oh my God, she's not feeding me, and she's doing loads of exercise. Oh my God, quickly put the brakes on, and we need to hold on to that fat because we need to keep the energy in case something horrible happens. So it slows your metabolic rate down.
Oh.
So you start to plateau and your body stops losing the weight. Now, the problem with that is what then tends to happen is you go, oh, God, I'm so fed up. I'm not losing any weight. Oh, what's the bloody point? And you just go back to your bad habits and you eat how you used to eat. You do less exercise how you used to. But because your metabolic rate has reduced, i.e. you burn less calories than you used to, just doing the same thing, that's why you find it even harder to lose weight the next time. So you then go on another crash diet and you don't eat and you exercise like crazy and it takes longer and longer and longer, but you finally lose the weight, then you plateau because your body's put the brakes on, it's reduced the metabolic rate again, and it's that vicious cycle. So this yo-yo dieting then sort of, it screws up your metabolism. And so that can be a lot of women sort of, and especially when you then start throwing in hormones for perimenopause or menopause and all that sort of stuff, and that's probably for a whole nother podcast, that can have an impact on metabolism. And I think it's being aware of, if you do hit that plateau, of how can you keep that motivation. And that was your question.
Yeah.
So I think finding things that you like to do. So the exercise you do has to be something you enjoy, for starters. Okay. Because if you do something you've been told that that's the best thing to do, and if you do the metabolic effect and you go, I hate it, then don't do it. Do something else that you do like, because you won't do it. So you need to have something that you enjoy doing. So if it's dancing, if it's Zumba, if it's swim, whatever it is, and it's just small steps. And the thing about motivation is, quite a lot of us or people tend to wait to feel motivated to do something, but that's not how it works. You sort of have to start and then you get motivated. So if you've ever worked on something, or you've started, perhaps, let's say a puzzle, you're doing a puzzle and you I can't be bothered to do a puzzle, but all of a sudden all the edges are in and you're like, oh, right, there's another bit, and do you know how you get that? You create that energy, don't you?
Yeah,
because
you do.
You started something and then all of a sudden you think, oh, this is quite good. So you have to keep going, and you will have days where you just think, I really can't be bothered. But it's like the 5-second rule. What's the lady's name?
Mel Robbins.
That's it. The lovely Mel Robbins. It's like, I really don't want to get out of bed early because it's dark, but 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you're there. Yeah. And you're out. And using those little tips like that. Having somebody that you can go and exercise with. So having a friend that agrees to do it at the same time as you. You go together, you'll keep each other going. Because one day she won't want to go and you'll go, well, I do. And she'll come with you. And then next week it'll be you going, oh, I don't want to. And she'll go, well, I'm going. So having a buddy to go with is good. Finding a good coach or a good personal trainer, and somebody that you like and that you can have a bit of a laugh with, that is not deadly serious, who just shouts at you to give them more. All those sort of things can help you. And tracking your steps, like you said earlier about the number of steps on your phone, you get a bit competitive. So setting yourself those mini goals will really help to sort of keep you motivated. Funny, I had one of my clients rang me today, and she started running in the middle of last year, because she hadn't run for a long time. She decided she was going to start, and she runs on a Wednesday and a Saturday. And she texted me at 6 o'clock this morning and said, oh, I really love your inspiration because it's raining and it's muddy and I really don't want to go for a run. I can't be bothered. Help. And I just replied to her and said, yeah, it's raining and it's muddy, but focus on how you're going to feel at the end of your run, how proud you'll feel, and how fantastic that hot shower is going to be. And I said, and just imagine every single raindrop that's touching your face is just giving you another little bit of energy. And then she texted me later going, I've done it. So, sometimes you have to look for that inspiration outside of you, and maybe that's somebody else, maybe it's reading a quote, maybe it's, I don't know, just thinking of the end, how you're going to feel at the end of it.
It's interesting, actually. It kind of, when I put my sobriety hat on, what you're saying there really reminds me of, there were some days I found being sober really hard. And, a bit like some days, well, like most days, actually, I don't want to do any form of movement or exercise. But, my early days in recovery were really tough. I had to really, force myself to phone somebody, to say a prayer, to go to a meeting, to, read something from a recovery book, to tell someone how I was feeling, to write a gratitude list. Some days it just felt like I was walking through mud, trying to stay sober.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same, it's the same for me personally with exercise. It feels quite heavy. And I can almost imagine, because it's been such a long time since I've done it, that I'm going to almost have the kind of roller coaster ride that I also had in early recovery, because it's about change, isn't it? It's about new habits.
Change. It's about new habits. But actually maybe draw from that experience, that because you did it. You did it. You've done it. You're there. That's amazing what you've achieved. Looking back at where you've done this, where you've done these challenges before, where you've gone through tough times and you've been able to come out the other side. Another exercise that I do with my coaching clients when they're sort of struggling with confidence, self-esteem, motivation is the I am brilliant because list.
Oh, what's the I am brilliant because list? Tell me more.
It's as simple as all the tiny little things and even the massive big things that you've achieved in your life since you were a baby. So it could have been being made head girl at junior school. It could have been doing the level 1 recorder exam. It could be passing a driving test, having a child, delivering kittens. I delivered kittens last year. Doing your first public speak. Could be getting a job, going for an interview, making a cake, playing the piano, speaking another language. So every little thing that you've ever done that is an achievement, you start to write this list. And most people struggle to start with because it feels like, oh no, I don't want to talk about all the things that I've done. But once you start, the gates start to open, and you'll write your list, and then you'll put your list down, and then an hour later you'll go, oh yes, and I did that. Oh, and I did that. Oh, and I did that. And it can make you see how amazing the past, and it will remind you of the tough times.
Yeah.
Like you going through your sobriety that was really, really, I can imagine, well, I can't imagine, it must have been really difficult, but you've done it. So
some days were, and actually, I say this all the time, I would not swap my worst day sober for my best day drinking. I wouldn't. And
how fantastic is that? And you can have that same feeling with this next challenge. That's all you've got to do, is you've just got to look at it as it's another challenge. And how did I deal with it in the past? What did I learn in the past that I can bring to this? What will I do differently from that challenge to this challenge? It's the same thing. It will be painful, it will be uncomfortable, and there'll be days when you can't be bothered. That's life. That's life. It's just a challenge. But if you keep telling yourself, oh, I'm just going to fail because I always do, well, that's what will happen. So you've got to be able to switch that around.
Fab. Any other top tips for other women like me that you'd love to share with us before we finish?
I think be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself, and focus. I think it's definitely focus on the feeling and not about the number on the scales. I mean, I almost hate that it's all about, oh, I've got to weigh 9 stone. Maybe focus on actually wanting to get into your Armani jeans, for example, or a dress that you've got, and look at other things that you can see where your progress is. So maybe look at your measurements as opposed to losing weight, because sometimes you might find, and I find this with my challenges, is that people won't lose that much weight, but if you've measured their waist, they've lost 6 inches. So they might only lose 3 pounds, but they've lost 6 inches. And like, wow, that's a better thing, I think, to focus on.
Yeah.
And especially if you're working with weights, you're going to get much more tone in your body. So a lot of people think that muscle weighs more than fat. There's this myth about muscle weighing more than fat, but a pound of muscle is going to weigh the same as a pound of fat. The difference is that muscle is leaner and smaller. So, that's like comparing a football with a tennis ball. So the tennis ball will be the muscle, and the football will be, a netball will be the fat. So the size is different. So you might weigh the same, but your body will look very, very different. So perhaps focus on some different ways of measuring your success.
Oh, I like the sound of that. And when I have lost weight before, I've definitely noticed it in my shape and the clothes before I've even noticed it on the scales. And actually, I rarely go on the scales. In fact, we don't actually have any in the house at the moment. They're in the garage. So they've gone. Hurrah.
Yeah.
So be kind to ourselves.
So the other thing I think that's really important is to write these things down, to journal, because especially if you're doing that 7 steps why thing, if you do it in your head, you haven't actually got it to refer to. And writing things out and really questioning what you're writing is going to get deep into that mindset, and that's going to really help you on your journey and on your progress.
Oh, completely. I mean, what's between my ears is sometimes quite mentally disturbed. It's much better if I write things down, because honestly, the madness is between my ears.
Get it out on paper. Definitely get
Absolutely.
it out on paper. Have a journal by your bed, so that if you wake up in the middle of the night, you can just scribble all that rubbish down.
Fantastic.
All those worries.
Well, Lisa, it's been a real honour and a privilege having you on the show. I've loved this conversation. We could talk for hours, but sadly we can't today. If our listeners want to find out more about you, get in touch, start to connect with you, where's the best place for them to find you?
So the best place, I have my Fit for More business page on Facebook, but I also have a fantastic Facebook group called Fearless and Powerful Woman, where I would love some ladies to come in and connect with me and find out a bit more about me.
Brilliant. Well, we'll make sure that link is in the show notes. So listeners, if you want to connect with Lisa too, you can find her in her Facebook community, and we'll put down some other places that you can find her as well, because I don't know about you, but it's always nice to have a little online stalk of people. Legitimately, of course, not for nefarious reasons.
Of course.
Lisa, thank you so much for coming on.
It's been a wonderful pleasure. And I wish you all the best.
Yes, I'll have to have you back. I'll probably, actually, in fairness, I'll be in contact directly if 3 months down the line I'm still whinging about this 3 stone that I need to lose. I can assure you, you come and sort me out.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lisa.
All right, take care.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Today I Am Sober podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I'd love your feedback. So come and find me on social media. All of the links are in the show notes. Until next time, bye.